I'm a journalist at the United Nations right now. I work for the Kurdish Rudao Media Network. For me, this year, 2015, I attended a very special event. It was even special for the United Nations too, although it's annual. It's called, it's a General Assembly Summit. This year it was special because the Pope was there. 154 presidents and world leaders were there, 10,000 diplomats, foreign ministers. Think of it like world's most powerful people were at the same hall. Head of big corporations such as Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg. In the same time, when I was seeing world's most powerful people, there was also the world's least powerful people. You're seeing the Palestinians, people from small islands country that because of global warming, their islands will be basically part of the ocean. We will not see it in future very soon. But that was interesting to see not so important people, but very important people in the same place, and they had a chance to speak because they were member state, or like Palestinians, they were observer nations. Even NGOs had a chance. And the main topic of the discussion, as I was looking around myself, I was like, as a journalist, my topic was like, I should look for what is interesting for Rudao, for Kurdistan, which was ISIS. I didn't have to look. Everybody was talking about ISIS war. Thanks to President Obama and Putin's speech, they basically criticized each other very, very clearly. So anyhow, ISIS was the main topic, was the main problem that supposedly international community should tackle. That's what everybody was talking about, world leaders, everybody. But the people on the ground who are fighting ISIS, who are considered by the US, Russia, and everybody else that is the only effective ground troop that are fighting ISIS, and they're winning, which are the Kurds in Syria and in Iraq, they were not there. I didn't see their representative at the high-level meeting. And as I was looking around myself, I was the only Kurdish in that place as a journalist. And I was not representing any government entity. I was representing Rudao as a reporter. Because of that, when I was saying I'm a Kurdish, some high-level officials sit down with me, had off-record discussion. Although Rudao is not CNN, as you can imagine, it's really hard to get interview for Rudao. I mean, the official think, oh, why would I waste 30 minutes of my time? You know, they think about who is your viewer and who's not. Well, they are wrong, by the way. Rudao is very important, but that's another topic. For me is, when they are saying I'm Kurdish, I'm from Kurdistan, and their press, to the president and prime minister, that the press officer checked my name, they knew I'm a journalist. Anyhow, they gave me like off-records meeting. For example, with the Turkish prime minister, although he's in contact with all the Kurdish leaders in Iraq, I'm sure in Turkey he has many contacts with the Kurds, but he gave me like 10 minutes to talk to him off record. And the interesting part was, it was a 10 minutes while he was working, and he was very nice. He talked to me. I spoke to briefly with the U.S. ambassador to the UN. She's one of the most powerful ambassadors that you can imagine at the UN, Samantha Powers, to other world leaders. And what was interesting about it is not just the leaders, but also the diplomats that usually work on a detail, is the lack of knowledge they have about Kurdistan. They know our grievances. They know you have refugee crisis. They know we are facing ISIS. We know we need weapons, all that, because Kurdish leadership worked on this very well, and we have also media coverage in that area. But what they don't know is why the Kurds are fighting this fight. What they don't know is basically the size of how important and central Kurdish role is. I'm not saying this because I'm only Kurdish, but every foreign journalist comes to the battlefield in Iraq, sees that, okay, in the Kurdish portion, when you go on the front, the only people who are fighting ISIS are Kurds. They are basically protecting a NATO ally of the US on the other side of the border, which is Turkey. So the world leaders and the people at the summit, I noticed they knew we are fighting ISIS, but they didn't know how central the Kurdish role is. And that is, I think, it's a big problem. That is the reason why Kurds are always complaining that we don't get enough weapon, we don't get enough political support. I would criticize the Kurdish leadership for that too, but I wouldn't go to that detail. But I think it's very important to understand at this moment, and I always say this, ISIS war is not a terror problem, only a terror problem. It's a world war. It's a war between a fascist form of society, one color, one religion, one culture, and a world of diversity. And I'm sure many people in Kurdistan see that. Kurdistan region of Iraq, you meet Christians, Muslims, Kurds, Arabs, Turkmen. I'm not saying they are living perfectly with each other. There are racism there and there, but they live and coexist in a way. But you go on the other side in Mosul, which is under the control of ISIS, the Iraqi city of Mosul. And it's one form that's only accepted, which is Sunni, Muslim, Arab mostly, that's accepted. This is a world war by many standards. And the Kurds, this ethnic group that has no state, that has been oppressed for a long time, is the only ground force, effective ground force that are fighting ISIS, not just effectively militarily, but also when they win, the West is comfortable about this. Because when the Shia militias win against ISIS, you see what they do. They slaughter people, they have their own ISIS-like agenda, which is less diverse society. But when the Kurds win, this is not because I'm only Kurdish, but I noticed it from Westerners too. They are more comfortable about it when they control the area. They don't go and say, "Hey, let's kill some Sunni Arabs," because Kurds are Sunni first, and they just don't do that. So, for me, the most important moment I think at the GA summit is Kurds were not there. Kurds were not mentioned as the most important people on the ground. And the whole world wants the Kurds to fight ISIS without listening to their opinion. What should we do in ISIS war?